시계 군주 카지 페비오바탕 게지 지졸리야 다니 시경 탐비기 시경 그 탐시에디 켄고구 유베스와 인지널이야 면주슈 초바치. I begin by offering my deepest reverence and obeisance of body, speech and mind to His Holiness the Great 14th Dalai Lama of Tibet, the Apostle of World Peace, the manifestation of Avalokiteshvara, the Supreme Protector and symbol of Tibet, the Dharma King of the Three Realms. I express my profound gratitude for His Holiness the Dalai Lama's immeasurable kindness in accepting our supplications and gracing us with your sacred presence at the swearing-in ceremony of the Sikyong of the 17th Kashak Central Tibetan Administration. I also extend my heartiest greetings to all our esteemed guests who have traveled long distances specifically to attend this ceremony, among whom, if I mention, we have Honorable Chris Law and his wife, Ms. Christie, Chris Law is the chairman of the All-Party Parliamentary Group for Tibet in the UK Parliament, and he is leading this UK delegation. He has visited Dharamsala several times and sought His Holiness audience several times. He is accompanied by Ms. Kerry McCarthy, who is a member of the Labour Party, a former government minister. Thank you very much for joining us at this occasion. And then I am also happy to welcome Mrs. Alicia Alexandra Martha Kearns, whom I had the opportunity of meeting when she was the chair of the Foreign Affairs Committee of the UK Parliament. And they are accompanied by Mrs. Vera Benedicta Hobhouse and her husband, Mr. William Hobhouse. Mrs. Vera and Kerry, they both have been involved in organizing and participating in many of the hearings on Tibet, and I'm very thankful that they joined the delegation this time. And from our host country, we have Honorable Member Tapir Gao from Arunachal Pradesh. Now, he has been an ardent supporter of Tibet along with Honorable Chief Minister of Arunachal Pradesh, and he is currently co-convener of the All-Party Parliamentary Forum for Tibet. He is accompanied by Honorable Sujit Kumarji, who is an old friend personally and also an old friend of Tibet, has been associated as convener of the All-Party Parliamentary Forum for Tibet in the Indian Parliament for one term. Now he is a member of the Rajya Sabha. Now we also have Honorable Member Luis Mala Valenzuela, deputy from Chile. This is his second visit to Dharamsala. We have many friends in Venezuela along with him, and this morning also he expressed the support of all his parliamentary friends and supporters from Chile to His Holiness the Dalai Lama. And we also have Mr. Jose Francisco Lira Alvarado. He is a deputy from El Salvador. His first visit to Dharamsala, and El Salvador is also facing similar problems like us because they have a more autocratic government and they are also struggling for more democracy in their own country. And we also have Mr. Ajay Dayal, representing the US Embassy in New Delhi, also representing the United States government, along with some dignitaries. We also have faculty and students from Emory University who have a program going on. This is a Emory Center for Compassion Center of Emory University, led by Professor Geshe Lobsang Tenzin Negila, and about nearly 300 participants. They have been diligently following His Holiness' advice on sea learning and making sure that to train the trainers in the field of sea learning, which I personally consider as one of His Holiness' greatest contribution to humanity. I also express my gratitude to the present and former dignitaries of the Central Tibetan administration, to the civil servants, to the monastic and lay community present here, and especially to my fellow Tibetans inside Tibet. In 2021, when I stood as a candidate for Sikong, I pledged that I would not be part of any election campaign that could lead to division within the community. Staying true to that commitment, I did not campaign at all during this election. However, with the majority mandate from the public, I was re-elected as a Sikong for the second term. For that, I express my heartfelt gratitude to all those who participated in the electoral process. I firmly believe that every accomplishment of the 16th Kashak in the spheres of politics, administration, and social welfare is solely due to the boundless blessings and far-reaching noble deeds of His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama. I also would like to point out the unwavering and timely assistance of the oath-bound protective deities of Tibet. My three colleagues in the cabinet, each of whom shouldered their respective departmental responsibilities and contributed collectively to the endeavors of the Kashak. The dedicated efforts of the civil servants, and the collective strength of organizations and the monastic and lay communities alike. And in particular, the unyielding commitment of the Tibetan people inside Tibet, their devotion and longing for His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and their determination to preserve our national identity. I express my sincere and heartfelt gratitude to each and every one of you. The 17th Kashak reiterates our commitment to keep the thought and counsel of His Holiness the Dalai Lama at its very core. We shall uphold equitable justice founded on rules and regulations, harness collective effort through principled policy implementation, and move forward to achieve the goal of long-term sustainability of the Tibetan struggle until a just resolution of the Sino-Tibet conflict is achieved. Given the Chinese government's current policy direction towards the nationalities, there does not seem to be much space for negotiations. Nevertheless, the 17th Kashak remains firmly committed to the middle way policy envisioned by His Holiness the Dalai Lama, which seeks a resolution to the Sino-Tibet conflict through non-violence, dialogue, and mutual benefit that would be lasting. Accordingly, until a resolution is achieved, we will continue the back-channel communications with caution and steadiness with the Chinese government while pursuing strategies to strengthen international recognition and support for the Middle Way policy. The United States Tibetan Policy and Support Act of 2020 authorized sanctions against Chinese officials who will interfere in the recognition of His Holiness the Dalai Lama's reincarnation. Similarly, the 2024 Promoting a Resolution to the Tibet-China Dispute Act, in short, Resolve Tibet Act, acknowledges Tibet's historical status and recognizes the Tibet-China dispute as unresolved that needs to be resolved under international law. In this context, we remain committed to countering disinformation and misleading narratives propagated by the Chinese government regarding His Holiness the Dalai Lama's reincarnation and the historical status of Tibet as a sovereign state, while providing factual information to strengthen global support for the Tibetan cause. The most pressing challenge in Tibet today is the Chinese government's systematic and overarching state-backed implementation of policies and programs aimed at erasing Tibetan national identity. At the same time, China has deliberately spread misinformation and propaganda to create division within exiled communities, including the Central Tibetan Administration, Tibetan organizations, and support groups, thereby weakening the unity of the Tibetan struggle movement. It is therefore essential for all to remain vigilant against such interference, particularly those engaged in the voluntary Tibet advocacy group and support groups for Tibet. They must strengthen their awareness, coordinate their efforts, and collectively raise issues of genocide and crimes against humanity at both international and national levels. A well-organized administration is must for advancing the cause of Tibet and ensuring services to the community. During the 16th Kashak, e-governance initiatives have been launched. The 17th Kashak shall further strengthen this initiative by enhancing capacity based on knowledge, technology, infrastructure, and institutional systems, while expanding e-governance through improved data management and database systems. Leveraging information technology and artificial intelligence will enhance advocacy efforts, increase administrative efficiency, improve public service delivery, and strengthen communication with the community, an approach particularly suited to Tibetans living in exile across the globe. By strengthening the administration's management systems for collecting, analyzing, and sharing information, and by using all available channels to highlight the Tibetan cause and the aspirations of its people, a communication strategy will be developed to ensure timely and clear outreach to all stakeholders. Tibetans in exile must not only adhere to the Charter of Tibetans in Exile and its governing regulations, but also compliance with international norms and laws of host countries is a fundamental promise of our charter and essential to sustaining our existence in exile. The 16th Kashak has consistently worked to ensure this commitment is effectively implemented across the Tibetan administration and its autonomous and semi-autonomous bodies, and we will continue to do so. Moreover, living in harmony and in accordance with the law of our host countries is not only vital for a peaceful and stable life, but also a key means of upholding the dignity and values that Tibetan people embody. Caring for the elderly, the destitute, the sick, and those facing physical and mental hardships is a core principle repeatedly advocated by His Holiness the Dalai Lama and is also an unavoidable responsibility of the administration. Guided by transparency, equity, efficiency, and sustainability, the Kashak will implement social welfare initiatives, including the completion and management of public infrastructure, youth skill development, school consolidation for greater efficiency, and improved healthcare and preventive services, with special attention to vulnerable groups. At the same time, advancing self-sufficiency within the Central Tibetan administration and the exiled Tibetan community remains critical to sustaining the Tibetan cause in the long term. We express our sincere gratitude to all those who have contributed to this effort and encourage continued collective action from both organizations and individuals. The 17th Kashak solemnly pledges to ensure that all official responsibilities are carried out smoothly and that His Holiness the Dalai Lama is not unduly disturbed by the trivial matters of the community, and that we continue to win the trust of the Tibetans inside Tibet. Since last year, alongside the 90th birthday celebrations of His Holiness as a year of compassion, many organizations and individuals have offered long life prayers to His Holiness the Dalai Lama. The most meaningful offering we can make is to put his teachings into practice. We therefore urge all Tibetans to remember our shared identity as political exiles, set aside differences, foster unity, and fulfill our individual responsibilities towards the common cause of Tibet. Despite the Chinese government's systematic efforts to undermine Tibetan national identity, China cannot weaken the Tibetan people's enduring bond with their homeland. Since the dawn of civilization, Tibetans have remained the rightful custodians of the land of snow, sustained by a deep spiritual and cultural connection. We therefore urge Tibetans within Tibet to begin at the household level by nurturing in their children a strong sense of identity rooted in the Tibetan language, religion, and culture. I also take this opportunity to express my sincere gratitude to the government and people of India, the United States, and all our supporters. Your support remains key to the effective continuation of our struggle for truth and justice. In conclusion, I pray for the long life of His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama, and may his noble thoughts embodied in the 4 principal commitments continue to spread across the globe. May the auspicious day of reunion for Tibetans, both inside and outside Tibet, emerge soon. Thank you.
Tushena Pandit Sikyong Cho. Thank you, Honorable Sikyong.